Are you a fan of horror movies, thrillers, action comedies, or do you just love 80s synthwave music? If you said yes to any or all of those questions, I have the perfect movie for you.
Can I help you?
The name of the movie I'm going to be talking about in this video is called The Guest, starring Dan Stevens and Maika Monroe. Not a brand new film by any means, but every time I watch this film, I just rewatched it again last night. I love it even more. This is a movie I jam out to every time, and I just think this movie is so damn cool and a little bit underrated. But I will say there was a time this movie was like the undisputed king of all the underrated hidden gem lists. But maybe as a society, we've kind of wisened up and we are all accepting that The Guest is a movie we all need to see. So as I'm rambling about the film in just a minute, be sure to join me down below in the comment section and let me know what you think of the film. Like the video, that helps the most, or just join the channel. I talk about old movies, new movies, horror movies, give you guys recommendations. I do all of it. In the movie, you have Dan Stevens playing this veteran from Afghanistan who returns home and visits the Peterson family. He arrives at their doorstep. He lets them know he was a friend of their son who passed away in the war, and he will be of any service they could possibly need. Because they are happy to reconnect with somebody who reminds them of their son, they invite him inside, have him stay for a while. They are happy to have some connection to a son that has passed away, but the longer he stays and the more his presence is made known, more strange occurrences start happening. So what starts off as a good gesture leads the family to start reconsidering, who is this guy? What are his intentions? And is he even who he says he is? Jumping right into it, I think this movie has the best movie soundtrack of all time, or it is pretty damn close. For a movie that's not a musical, I don't think there's a single scene in this film that does not have an awesome score attached to it. I love the soundtrack of this. You guys know I love 80s music. I love synthwave music. If you're a fan of those movies with a giant synthwave score, be sure you check out this film or just listen to it on Spotify. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. But it feels like every scene in this film has that score attached to it. And there is just a ramped up, thumping 80s soundtrack that is just bumping. You just want a fist bump when you watch this film. You'll also recognize some of the cast in this film because Dan Stevens, huge fan of his. He has really picked up some steam in the recent couple of years, which I'm happy for because I don't really think he's ever been in a bad movie. Besides The Ritual, that movie sucked. And it's also got Maika Monroe, one of our favorite modern day scream queens ever since It Follows, and she's been in The Watcher and Longlegs. So for the time it came out, when you go back and look at some horror films, an iconic cast. I love doing that, revisiting movies before the cast got famous. And it's cool you have these two because they are the two main characters, mainly Dan Stevens. For all of the dudes out there, you get exactly what I promised in the opening. You get a mix of a horror film, a thriller film, an action comedy, all wound into one with an awesome soundtrack. It becomes very memorable because this movie starts off as one thing and shifts about 3 to 4 times by the end. You will not see where this movie's going. And for all the ladies out there, you get to stare at Dan Stevens shirtless numerous times. There you go. But being serious again, what I like about this film is it takes such a simple concept that could be so mundane, so boring, but because it's well acted and it has the balls to go certain places, it takes that story of this mysterious stranger showing up at this family's doorstep, and then the movie just ends up absolutely bizarre by the end of the film and chaotic and crazy, and I love it. This third act is phenomenal. I actually put this movie on a Halloween list I did not too long ago. I wouldn't call this like a scary Halloween spooky film, but if you're somebody who likes that Halloween fall vibe, you know, carving pumpkins, going to Halloween parties, fall leaves on the ground, I think this movie does capture that vibe pretty good, which is why it's always one of the films I watch around this time of year, both because the soundtrack never gets old and because, as I've said 500 times on the channel, I can never get too many of those films. And what makes this movie excel, even though it's pretty simple, is all of the different character dynamics we have in their relation to David. The movie plays out with David arriving to the Petersons' house. They invite him inside. He kind of becomes a little bit more acclimated with them throughout the week. Again, they are happy to just connect with somebody who knew their son. They need closure, and they find that whole thing pretty relieving. Maika Monroe plays the younger daughter of this family. She's really the only one who's skeptical of this at all. But the whole idea that David knew her brother, she just thinks something's a little bit off about having this guy stay at the house. The younger son of this family is kind of an outcast loser. He gets bullied at school, and David sees that very early on. Acting like a father figure to him, he's trying to instill some lessons in the younger son, teach him to stand up for himself, leading to some pretty awesome scenes involving a bar. You also have the dynamic of David comforting the mom. You have the dynamic of David comforting the dad, who seems to be in a pickle at work. So there's a lot of like gray area to this film of how you should feel about multiple characters. Is David actually a bad guy? Even if he is a bad guy, he's kind of a likable, rootable character for the things he's doing for this family. And because of this, it makes the movie really flow as you're uncovering the mystery of who this guy is, why he showed up, how long he's going to be there, and who he actually is. I'd say the first act is just a straight up drama, maybe partial mystery. Middle act being a full on mystery, and you're starting to kind of unravel who David is. And it's kind of a dark action comedy where there's a lot of funny scenes and a lot of action and blood. But the third act is where I think this movie morphs into horror, and it really goes full Halloween spooky with the aesthetic built up and the score pumping, which all leads up to a pretty chaotic third act at a high school dance, which I also think is legitimately one of the best third acts in a movie ever. Just perfect. Aesthetically, soundtrack wise, narratively, the way the movie ends, the conclusion you get, some cliffhangers you're left with. I like everything in the last 20-30 minutes of this film. Just chef's kiss, perfect to me. And not to beat a dead horse, because I have mentioned the soundtrack about 4 or 5 times now. When the very final song of this movie is playing, I believe it's called Antonio, and I only know that because, as I already said, I was very addicted to the soundtrack. When that song is playing to the very conclusion of this film and it is all paired together, one of my favorite uses of a song as a score to any movie's ending ever. It is so damn good. Like, I could just rewatch the scene over and over again. That's how much I like the scene. That's how much I like the song. The only thing I could possibly list as a negative to somebody, and I can't really speak on my behalf, this movie is kind of a slow burn, getting to the point where you get reveals of who he is and why he's there. I'm never bored with this film, I can tell you that much. I've seen this movie a lot of times. But it does take a little bit of patience to get to where you're going if you're not somebody as gung-ho as I am on the acting of this, the casting, the music, all of the things that kind of fill you in up until the major conclusion. But I'll conclude with this. I've seen The Guest about 5 to 10 times now, and every time I watch it, I just have more fun with it. I just think it's one of the perfect films to throw on for a late rainy night. But even saying that, it's still kind of a different movie. If you're somebody who enjoys slow burn thrillers where the acting is central, the soundtrack is central, the cinematography is central, all of it is very immersive getting to the conclusion, this one's probably really for you. If you're looking for a very up-tempo action film, a lot of blood and guts, might not be the movie for you, even though the third act of this film, I think, is pretty damn gnarly. There's some really cool gore and kills in it. So yeah, The Guest. Have you seen the movie, or do you plan on seeing the movie? If you have not, it is finally on streaming again. I have been tracking this movie for so long, they finally re-added it. But if you have not seen it, check it out while it's around, because it does not come around often, at least not free to streaming. But if you have seen the movie, comment down below, let me know what you think of it, or just let me know down below what your favorite movie soundtrack is that's not a musical. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, it all really helps me with the algorithm. I will see you in the next review. Peace!